Unscripted. KSU. Quick, tactical conversations from the heart of the power sports industry. In this business, time is torque. So hit the ignition, twist the throttle, and let's fire it up.
Take 1,372.
Mark Sheffield, episode, what are we on? 16, 17.25?
We might be in the 20s.
20s. We got another interview. Kyle Greer, the Director of Sales of Specialty at Impel. Thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate you bringing me up here.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe the company to start us off.
Yeah, so Impel, we have started in the automotive space. About 5 years ago, I joined the company as a business development manager within the non-automotive sector. So me and my team were pretty much focusing on power sports, RV, and marine. Mm-hmm. And we've really grown that segment significantly over the last 5 years. We've gone from 0 dealers to now we have over 1,300 to 1,500 different dealerships across the United States.
Wow. Very good. Well, we're going to ask you a bunch of questions about your background and the industry and your company. We'll start the pod clock, set to 30 minutes. If we go over, it's okay, because every one of them we've gone over. So.
Great.
Guaranteed we'll go over.
Yeah, we will. Ready? You start this one, Mark. You start it.
Oh my God, I always have to start.
I started the last one.
Why did I do this with you? When we met, we met probably a year ago, and then I kind of forgot about you. And then I posted some stuff about AI in the industry a few months ago, and you reached back out again and kind of reminded me about what you did. And we did a demo and looked at some of the technology that your company puts out that, kind of helps dealers not to replace salespeople or service people, but to improve how they communicate with the customers. And I also kind of know about your company's background in the automotive industry, and I think one of the big differences in auto is that it's kind of a lot more of an open ecosystem in that different companies can work together for the benefit versus power sports, where we still operate in a very closed industry. And so, it's the vendors that we work with, they really want to create all these own products and then tie the customer to them, so you can't go to your company and have what you do easily integrate with 2 or 3 other systems. So how do you kind of see the industry developing over the next few years? Do you think things are going to start to open up as there are companies like yours who maybe run away with being really good at one piece of technology, or are dealers going to continue to be constrained that if we want to have this piece of technology, then we're forced to use what they've got because nobody else integrates?
Yeah, I think most vendors are fairly closed off. Like the extortion fees. I think that's a real.
That's a good way to put it.
That's a real thing.
It's a good word.
Any vendor that you're going to integrate into, you've got to pay that extortion fee in order to get the integrations or the inventory fees or anything like that. With the slew of AI vendors that are out there, I think that's going to force the hand of some of these other providers, web providers, CRM providers, to have to open up the floodgates a little bit. Otherwise, they're gonna, somebody else is gonna do it. And if you're not first to that, you're gonna be last. So I think that actually, I do believe that you'll see the industry slightly open up a little bit and allow for more advantageous integrations, so that dealers can kind of have that pick and choose mentality.
Or I guess the counter side of that is that, a company like yours who has this one piece of AI, and maybe after this, you should kind of tell people a little bit more about what you do, because it probably doesn't make sense to everybody right now. But, maybe at some point down the road, you've got this cool piece of AI technology that we have closed CRM vendors in the industry who won't allow you to integrate. Maybe you guys just develop a CRM.
Yeah, I think it's, that's...
No NDA has been signed at this point in time, so I'm just guessing there.
I think, in that instance where it's not something that we're necessarily looking into, it's always easier to buy it or partner with it than to build it.
Yeah.
A lot of these CRM companies, AI companies as well, have spent hundreds of millions of dollars in research and development and what they've done and how they've gotten to where they're at today. I don't think necessarily that we'll look into building a CRM per se, but that might be a little bit above my pay grade at this point.
Give me what's a use case that you're seeing most with Specialty when they implement Impel?
Yeah, so we have 4 main avenues of products and assets. Our first, if I was to say crawl, walk, run, our first avenue and use case would be our 360-degree interactive walkarounds. Everything that we have developed is designed with working customers down that funnel and allowing them to engage more. The path of least resistance is how do we create an operational efficiency for the dealership to have live photos and allow that engagement online. So that's one use case. We've got another use case in the form of retargeting, which obviously is geofencing and bringing customers into your ecosystem that have heard of you before. And the inverse of that is bringing customers outside of your current network into Woods Cycle, for example. And then the final run piece is deployment of our AI systems. And that's going to be for our AI lead management, both on the chat functionality, the front end website chat, as well as any inbound internet-based leads, responding, texting, and emailing to all of those customers. Those are our 4 main use cases when it comes to PowerSports.
I'm going to go off my script here real quick. And, I think that I've shopped hundreds of dealers over the last decade. And, the best dealers suck at that process.
Yeah.
And as I talk to a lot of dealers about AI, there's so much concern that, AI is coming to take our people and AI is coming to do this and, we're not going to need salespeople, all that. And I think the reality is that the dealers who understand where we're at with AI today is that it's there to enhance, to improve, to make what your salespeople are doing better, because what they're doing today is really, really bad. But so many dealers just have this, the way that we take care of customers or don't take care of customers and ignore our customers. And, how we don't follow up on our emails for a few days because that's going to make the customer want the product even more. A lot of dealers seem to think that what they do is their secret sauce, when in reality, their secret sauce is freaking stale and got fungus growing in it.
Yeah, it's important to remember there's thousands of different dealerships, PowerSports dealerships across the United States, and AI is not in the future. It's here and it's now. Our AI is not designed to take the jobs of the sales reps. You're always going to need, in my opinion, those sales reps to be able to have the relationship and build that rapport with that customer. But what we really want to do is, take some of that weight off their plate. They're doing a lot of monotonous activities right now that are not getting them anywhere. Sending emails, which are oftentimes riddled with grammatical errors or slang, or 80% of the time they're not even making it to the customer's inbox. So I really want to allow the sales reps to do more with less and be more hyper efficient, handle more leads.
I think in general AI makes smart and good salespeople better, and it makes dumb people dumber. So don't be using AI anymore, Mark.
Do you want a 24-hour-a-day personal assistant, or do you not? Right.
Yeah.
That's what the deployment of AI is doing.
I want an AI podcast assistant. Do you have that technology yet?
Maybe in the future.
I would like to get rid of this one here.
So along those lines, how do you balance automation and maintaining the human touch in the customer interactions with API?
Yeah. So
with AI.
I think one of the biggest antiquated things within the PowerSports space is within the CRM, they often come stacked with tasks. Call, text, and email. Kyle, call, text, and email Mark. And oftentimes these sales reps, they're not even completing those activities. They're just kind of checking the box and moving on with their day. And that's problematic, right? Because if you're not replying to your customers, somebody will. So how do you manage the human side and the AI side, what we've done is we've kind of reimagined the campaign of outreach. And so what we've done is we will push into the CRM a different outreach cadence. So for example, on day one, we're going to text and email that customer as soon as that lead comes in. The next 30 minutes later, your guy is supposed to go and create a custom video walk around introducing himself and the bike. And then you see within our campaigns a smattering of dealer rep initiatives and AI initiatives through day 15. Now, at day 15, which typically is about 3 times longer than the average sales rep is usually following up, we're going to tell the teams at the dealership to rinse, repeat, go back to the beginning, start working those warm leads. So for those first 15 days, it really is a true concert between AI and human. For the remainder of the cadence, that's all AI outreach. So that's really how you balance the hot leads and the cold leads that need longer tail engagement.
Good.
It's probably contacts that weren't even happening anyway.
Right.
Correct.
So they'd already been forgotten about by the salesperson.
Correct. I mean, I think the average consumer is going to take about 17 different touch points before they can actually, or before they start engaging. And like I said, the best salespeople, we talk to dealer principals every day, and the best salespeople, they say follow up 3 to 5 days. And we know that customers are in the market for 2+ weeks. You're missing the mark on most of those consumers at that point.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sick at this point in time of being picked by companies that are AI enhanced or AI included, or when in reality, I mean, I'm not going to drop anybody under the bus. There's a company that's been promoting AI for years at this point in time, and it's not AI that they're utilizing. It's a flow chart that, okay, the customer's waited 24 hours. We're going to send them another follow-up email. That's not AI.
Correct.
AI is when you've got a system that's looking at, okay, I sold this unit 2 years ago, and the customer was on our website a couple of weeks ago looking at this, and he was looking at a used GSXR, and hey, we just had a GSXR come in yesterday, and telling the salesperson, here's who you need to contact today. I mean, that's AI. It's very different than a lot of what's being pitched to dealers today. How is the product that Impel offers different than everything else that we're seeing today in the industry?
Yeah, I mean, we're truly conversational AI. It's two-way back and forth AI. A lot of these companies that have AI in their title, you get the out-of-the-box solution. You and every other dealership get the same AI responding the same way to every single customer. With Impel, we've got a combination of things. We've got our large language model, which is proprietary to us. We have our dealership knowledge bank, which is really taking that out-of-the-box solution and customizing it to each and every single dealership location. So if you're somebody like Ride Now or Adventure Lifestyle with multiple locations across multiple states, each one of your locations is going to have its own voice. And that's really the difference there. On top of that, we have what's called agentic first response. And so if you're a consumer that is shopping for a bike and you are ready to complete a credit application, you're at a further point down the funnel than the guy that's coming in telling me, hey, what bikes do you have available? And so we're going to treat that customer with a different journey than just the regular generic outreach. So I think the guardrails that we have in play, the truly conversational AI, the ability to text and email those customers over a long tail cadence is what truly separates Impel from some of these other vendors that are out there right now.
Is your system truly learning over time? So is that, you say that, you're going to follow up a certain way today. Let's say that you've operated with a dealer in a marketplace for a year and a similar lead comes in a year down the road. Might, based on everything you've learned over the last year about, okay, here's customers we talked to, here's how long it took for them to reply to the first email, here's how long it took to sell that deal, that maybe a year down the road, the response and the cadence of those responses might be very different?
Yeah, I think that's the power of generative AI, right? It's constantly learning, constantly evolving. One of the things that I like to think about is the AI today is the worst that it's going to be. Right? Tomorrow it's going to be better than it was today, and a year from now is going to be light years different.
I'm still stuck on Kyle GPT 1.0 though. So I mean, I'm waiting for my upgrade.
You're going to be waiting a long time. That's awesome. What performance improvement in the powersports space have you seen that you're most proud of? Could be conversion, retention, operational efficiency. Can you give us some examples?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing that we can hang our hat on is the ability to do more with less. So, if I'm able to take the monotonous activity out of the team's hands, the texting and the emailing, and have them focus on the relationship building and calling those customers with those high level touch points, what we're able to see, we've done case studies where when you're able to reduce the monotonous activity and increase the high value output, we're able to increase the appointment set rate upwards of 25% in some instances. And we're doing that with less inbound internet-based leads. So again, just highlighting that ability to do more with less. Yeah. So my whole goal and our team's whole goal is to get you warmer at-bats. And if you're getting warmer at-bats, then you should in theory be closing at a higher clip.
That's right.
Having done 20 groups for 9 years, the two most common questions that I get, number one, email, text message, phone call, which I don't take, so if you leave me voicemail, know that I'll never answer, is, hey, I'm hiring a new sales manager. Do you have a pay plan for me? And the answer always is no. So I do have a document that tells you how to structure a good pay plan, but recognize that every pay plan is unique to the dealership and your size, your market, what you're looking to promote. The second most popular question that I get is, hey, I don't like my current CRM. What do you think the best CRM is that's out there? And my response to that one is always the same as well. If you don't like your current CRM, when you switch to a new one, you won't like it either. So because a lot of dealers seem to think that the CRM is kind of the silver bullet to fixing all their problems, when in reality, it's still a tool that's got to be used. Why do you think that so few dealers are willing to put the time and energy and effort into getting the most out of the CRM? They'd much rather just switch to another one.
I think it's a long putt to have to switch CRMs.
That sucks.
There's a lot of data behind it. The teams are comfortable where they're at in a lot of instances, and so it's a lot of legwork to have to go and kind of transition that person and take them from something like an e-leads to a VIN solution, all the data and metrics and migration. That takes a really, really long time. I think that oftentimes dealerships are not even, PowerSports dealerships are not even really using CRMs to their full capabilities. It's really just kind of a tracking metric for them of how customers are engaging and what their salespeople are doing. So unless you're a dealership that is foot on the gas and foot forward of trying to find that best silver bullet, as you say, with CRM, you're always going to struggle in finding that CRM that works best for you.
I'm not going to edit this out. What do you think is the best CRM out there for PowerSports dealers?
That's a loaded question.
Ooh, I didn't know.
That's a loaded question.
I didn't know if you were going to trip over that one.
I think that there's a lot of really, really good CRMs that are out there. I think there's a lot of CRMs that get you what you need without going too deep into the weeds. We're an equal opportunity vendor, so if we have the opportunity to partner with different CRMs, we will. But you have to find what works best for you and your dealerships.
Is switching a CRM, it can't be as painful as switching a DMS, is it?
It's pretty close.
Really?
Yeah, but it's at least with the DMS, I think there's a lot of standardization, and you got part numbers, you got history, you got descriptions, you got repair orders. Versus the CRM, it seems like everyone kind of captures the flow of information coming in a very different structure. And so a lot of times when you switch CRMs, the most you can kind of get out of there is name, address, phone number.
Yeah, and I think that's a majority of what these dealerships are using that for.
Right.
Name, address,
What do you think a CRM should be used for?
I think it needs to be, first of all, you need to have all of your customer information in there. Far too often are we, currently we're at the AIM Expo in California, and we talk to dealers all the time that are still using pen and paper. How antiquated is that, right?
How effective can that be in a lot of cases?
Depends on how long you've been in the dealership world, right? So you probably have a rolling book of business that you can call on people and say, hey, Joe, come in and purchase a new bike, and that's easy. But for a guy or gal that's just breaking into the into the industry now that doesn't have that Rolodex, it's much more difficult to do that pen and paper. You really need that book of truth to be able to go mine through that stuff and see who's been purchasing units. Maybe you can see that they've serviced units with you, but they're not purchasing units, or the inverse. Maybe they're purchasing but not servicing with you. So I think one kind of aggregate CRM that tells you all of that information is incredibly important.
We went, it's working with, Lemco back in the day and Sam and Tony at Garage Composites. I mean, they're still very big on the traffic log. And I think a lot of the new sales managers in the industry don't really understand the value of the traffic log. But the reality is that, if you've got a 7, 9, 10, 12, 13 step sales process, is that the way that a lot of dealers train is they're not selling the number of units they need to sell. And so we're sitting down with the entire sales team and going, hey, you got to do this, you got to do that. When a traffic log actually tells you that salesperson A, they're struggling to sit down, salesperson B, they're struggling at the write-up. And so then if we know exactly where a salesperson is struggling, we can give them targeted training that's going to help to get them over that lump. But, the other thing that you kind of brought up that I think a lot of dealers really kind of overlook is that if you've enforced good usage of your CRM and you know that you're going to have turnover in your sales department, is that right now what happens in a lot of dealerships, and we all know that repeat and referral business is really important to us, but when you have that salesperson leaves, in a lot of cases, if you don't have good records or you haven't enforced the use of the CRM, all those relationships are dead, and now you've got to start over again versus, we had all these customers under John in the CRM. He just left. We've got 2 new guys that are coming in. We're going to take all of his old leads and give them to these 2 guys, and they're going to have really good records that they can work off of. And they're going to understand that, his birthday's coming up, and his daughter's name is Jill, and her birthday's coming up, and so you've kind of got a leg up. And I just think a lot of dealers overlook that.
Otherwise, the customer leaves with the sales rep.
Yeah.
Right.
And they'll just follow them wherever they go.
Yeah.
You see that all the time in automotive. You see that in PowerSports. You see that all over the industry.
Right. So what sort of challenges do dealers face when adopting AI?
I think education first. They don't know what they're getting into. They think they're scared that AI is there to take their job. They don't know that it's not a set it and forget it, right? This is not a set it and forget it type industry. You really need to work in concert with the AI to be able to allow it to perform to its full potential. So, for us at Impel, what we're doing is we're working that customer down the funnel. And if at any point we do need a dealership rep to jump in, we'll alert that dealership rep. But it's important that they then take that next step. I can work it as far as I can work it, but then you really need to jump in. You can't just let this thing function on its own. Otherwise, it's not really giving you the best success that you could possibly get.
So what, on the heels of that, what's a piece of advice that you'd give a dealer that may be a little bit hesitant to adopt or embrace AI?
Well, do you want the lights on at your dealership 24 hours a day, or do you not? If you're not replying to your customers on a Saturday night at 10 o'clock at night when they get home and they're sitting on the couch having a couple cocktails, you're probably closed Sunday, Monday. So you're not getting to that customer until Tuesday.
Good point.
But somebody else has AI. And somebody else is replying to your customer. So I would. That's one of the reasons why I would deploy AI.
It's good. Never thought about it that way.
Yeah, I mean, that's most of the industry, right? 80, 90% of these dealerships are closed Sunday, Monday.
Yeah.
These, our industry that we're in, these are nice to haves. Yeah. They're not need to haves. It's not a car. Yeah. And so I'm not going on during my 9 to 5 and searching up GSXRs or Yamahas or side-by-sides or anything like that. I'm waiting until after hours when I get home, after I have dinner. Maybe I'm sitting on the couch watching football, but guess what? At that time, those dealerships are closed.
Right.
And if I can get that 24-hour, 7-day-a-week response and engagement, that's what I want.
Yeah.
Do you need a GSXR? Because I got 3 of the 40th anniversary. Look at.
I do love a Gixxer.
Looking really good. In the last 3 years in the random presentations that I do, a question that I ask dealers a lot of time is, how many of you do digital lead sales training with your staff? Well, first I usually ask, how many of you do sales training with your staff? And 80% of them lie and say they did. It's probably really 50%. And then I'm like, how many of you do digital lead training with your sales staff? And most of those who raise their hand, raise their hand. All right, tell me about this digital lead training. Did you give them some sample leads? Did you see what their responses look like? Did you go and actually shop your dealership and see how they respond to that? And, pretty soon you get down to one guy left in the corner who's like, yeah, I did most of that. And I can probably believe that 1 out of 50 people probably has done digital lead training. But, then you ask a follow-up question to dealers, what percentage of your deals start out as a digital lead versus a walk-in? And they're like, well, more than half of them start out. And I'm like, okay, so the majority of the training that we're doing is for the walk-in customer, who's now the minority of the leads that we actually see at this point in time. Why are we not doing this digital lead training? And over the last few years in my 20 groups, at one point in time, I used to shop dealers, and I would consolidate how bad and poorly their results were, put them up on a PowerPoint, embarrass everybody. They'd all feel bad and say, yeah, we're going to go back to the store and fix it. And next meeting, none of them had done anything. So, that's kind of the standard. And so maybe 2 years ago, I said, well, I'm going to try it different. I'm going to teach these dealers how to shop themselves. And I'm going to teach them how to make a fake email account. There's a right way to do it. There's a wrong way to do it. I'm going to teach them how to construct a lead that's going to measure a few things. Should be a great lead for a salesperson who gets it, and going to show them how to send it to their own store. And, if you do that with 20 dealers, the next day there will be 3 of those dealers who forgot what fake email account they came up with. There'll be 2 of them that can't remember the password that they set up to get into that fake email account. So you'll spend an hour working through all that stuff. And then in the end, you get to a point where of that, 32% of the dealers who submitted a lead to their store, nobody has responded yet. That's been the same for the last 15 years. I don't see it changing anytime soon. Maybe your product kind of helps some dealers to get a little bit better at that. But, it's always the same. 32% of dealers don't respond to those leads. And then you start going around the room and you're like, okay, what's the lead you submitted to your team? And then what's the response like? And then, they'll read off the lead, they'll read off the response, and I'll ask them, I'll say, grade that on a scale of 1 to 10. And, a lot of times they'll be like, oh, that was a 7 or that was an 8. And I'll be like, yeah, it was a 1, maybe a 2. And then, we'll kind of have this debate back and forth. We'll agree to meet in the middle at it being a 1 or 2. And then we'll go on to the next dealer. And you start going around the room, and you'll usually somewhere, always seems to be about in the middle, you'll get to a dealer who's got a response from an employee that maybe is not world-class, but is really, really good. And at that point in time, everyone who was massively overgraded their responses is like, that's what good looks like. There's significant amounts of room for improvement in the way that we're doing business. And that's always been a light bulb moment, I think, for a lot of dealers, in that there are some people out there who are really, really good at doing that. But why has it been just, it's almost been an impossible task for me to get dealers to understand how important these digital leads are. Why do you think that is?
I think digital leads are, the here and now. Think about how when you first got into the industry, how you were getting those leads. People were coming in, they were asking you what bikes you had, right? Today they're coming in telling you that they want that Gixxer 1000 40th anniversary stock number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? I think that sales reps get complacent in the way that they're responding to those leads, which is problematic. I think that they also get jaded based on the particular lead sources. They know that a dealer spike lead closes at a higher clip than a cycle trader lead, for example. And so they work the dealer spike lead through completion versus that cycle trader lead. But we don't know who's going to come and spend $40,000 on that bike and who's not, who's going to come spend $3,500 on a used Honda Grom. And so I think that's why you have to work every single lead through completion every single time. And that's what AI is really there to do.
Interesting. I had a whole nother question, but I'm not going to go down that train of thought. Any exciting innovations coming from you guys in the future, or maybe something you're working on now, any developments that you're excited about?
I think our roadmap, the industry really calls for fixed ops assets, right? And I think that's I think that's something that customers are always looking for.
Yeah.
How do we mine through that very, very messy DMS to be able to find those nuggets in the rough? And that's something that we have tangible and we're selling every day, all day on the automotive side. It's a little bit not as black and white in the power sports and marine side, but is something that I think is on our roadmap in the future. Squeaky wheel gets the grease, and that's what we've been hearing from a lot of the industry, power sports, marine, and RV over the last 6-7 months, a year, and so I think that's maybe an avenue that we'll look to explore in the coming months.
Yeah, we come from the automotive space too. I was saying it this morning that I see it all over the place in the auto space, and there's just really nothing good AI-wise that I've seen in the power sports industry yet. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I mean, all of these people that purchase power sports, a lot of times they're multiple users, right? They have 2, 3, 4, 5 bikes, and all of those bikes need service at some point. And you've got a million different records in your DMS right now. Some of those people have moved out of Texas. Some of those people don't have those bikes anymore. And so why are we mining through that and sending, replies to customers that don't have that Gixxer or don't have that Yamaha anymore? And the power of AI mining is we're going to do all of that stuff autonomously, find those people that have moved out of territory, maybe passed away, maybe sold that bike, sold that unit, and they're no longer interested in servicing with you, and really helping to cleanse that DMS so that you're only working with a clean, fresh database, so you know who to target and when to target them.
Right.
That's like a whole nother frustration of mine, is dealers not valuing the quality of the data that they've got in their DMS. And I think for a lot of dealers, at some point down the road, when they go to sell their dealership, somebody's going to look at it and go, yeah, you got 35,000 customers in there, but more than half of them are duplicates, and all the rest are missing records and got other problems, and they really have no value to me. But I hope you like my process of mixing a 14-part question in with a story to try to see if you actually remember what I asked you at the beginning, at the end. But the last question I've got for you, as not only in this industry, but in almost everything that, damn it, is that thing going to go off in a second? Yep.
Got caught. The pod clock speaks again.
Usually, in almost everything that we do, American Life has moved to a subscription model. And, nobody wants to sell you anything anymore. Adobe wants to sell you their $20 a month, and Verizon, this, that. Everybody wants to have your credit card and bill you every month with Netflix and Amazon and all the other stuff that we've got going on. It's really no different in the power sports industry that, for a lot of dealers, we're paying for DMS, paying for CRM, possibly a third-party texting tool. Maybe we've got some third-party company that is providing service scheduling. I mean, there's all these multitude of different subscriptions that we have. And I think in the last maybe couple of years, a lot of dealers that I've talked to, we really are trying to get back to simplicity. And maybe we understand that the CRM that exists within our DMS is not the best, but we also recognize that having this other system over here, our guys really aren't using it. We're not getting a whole lot out of that. Maybe we would rather have something that's less fully functional, but is just integrated, so we've only got one thing to work with. How are you going to justify the cost of the software that you offer to dealers? How do they justify, here's another subscription that we've got to pay for every month, especially with the fact that, based on the most common, one of the top 2 most common CRMs in our industry, not playing nicely with your software? How does somebody justify that?
Headcount. Do you have a BDC or do you not have a BDC? Right? We've seen multiple different use cases where in some instances they retain the same number of BDC, but they're selling more vehicles. We've also seen in other instances where they've chopped the head of 2, 3, 4 people in the BDC and sold, the same amount of vehicles. So how do you justify the cost? Is this could take the cost of you going out and hiring another BDC person, another fit specialist, another sales representative, and really taking the people that you have in the dealership today and really making them hyper efficient and being able to handle more leads. So yes, while it is a subscription model, so is a salary. And
That's a good point.
And so,
I never thought about looking at employees like that.
Great point.
so, that's how I would justify that.
It's great. I love that. We're all out of questions. You got any more? Any final?
I guess I realize he hasn't done any research because he didn't read that series of articles I wrote on the BDC being dead. So, but that's something else. But I do believe the BDC concept is dead in the power sports industry, but I do think there's an evolution of it that works. But that's a podcast for another day. And not to say that what you're doing wouldn't fit perfectly into where I see success in the industry, but again, that's Kyle ran long again today, so I don't have any more time to talk about it.
We appreciate the time. I love the name, obviously, Kyle. Where can people find you to learn more?
Yeah, you can find us at impel.ai. I'm also on LinkedIn, Kyle Greer, Director of Sales at Impel.
Yeah, thanks for sharing with us. I see a huge opportunity for AI in our space. There's a lot coming. There's a lot of bad AI coming, so this has been eye-opening for me to learn about what you guys do. Obviously, it's tried and true in the automotive space. You bring it to the power sports. That's where I came from, too, so look forward to seeing what you guys do in the next several months and the next year.
Yeah, well, thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate the time.
Appreciate you riding with us on Raw and Unscripted. KSU. We'll be back next week with more ways to rev up your dealership success. Until next time, keep the throttle wide open.